Great.
Okay. Okay.
Life is in relationships.
Okay.
Relationships are life. Welcome to This Is Us. Our stories, your story. Your journey, our journey. Life is in relationships.
Okay.
Relationships are life.
And I am Latoya very soon.
Welcome to This Is Us. Our stories, your story. Your journey, our journey. Life is. All right. Welcome, everyone. We are delighted to be back with you this evening as we gather for episode 2 of season 1. We appreciate so much all those of you who reached out during the week, giving your comments, your feedback, your encouragement as we start on this journey. And we are absolutely excited to be with you again as we get into a very, very important aspect of life about our story and your story and our journey and your journey. We are particularly pleased this evening to have our special guest, and those of you who follow the Instagram page and follow our WhatsApp and so on, you already know who our special guest is, but we're gonna do the official introduction of our guest in a short while. Our topic for this evening is sexuality in the brave new world. We go to a short break, and when we come back, we'll have something very special for you, a little feature that we will have on each of the shows. Latoya is going to take us through that, and then after that, we're going to have the introduction of our guest, and we're going to get right into this evening's topic. So we'll be right back with you in a moment.
Now, what's the best time to kiss a girl? And this is for our men out there, whether you're a husband or whether you're a boyfriend. The best time to kiss a girl when she's babbling on about something, when you're arguing, when you see her, when you're with her, when you're with friends, when she is happy, when she does something you love. When she says she loves you after you kissed her before you leave. My point is, wherever you get the chance to kiss her, it makes her feel loved.
Yeah, I was listening and I was saying, but that sounds like everywhere or every.
That's it. The point is, every chance you get, you kiss her.
Yeah. So basically, every moment is just as good as the next moment.
Take the opportunity to do it.
To do it.
In every moment.
In every moment.
Okay. Ready? Every chance you get, you kiss her.
All right. So as we said, our topic this evening is sexuality in the brave new world. What is this brave new world? What does that even mean? We're going to get into that. And this evening, to help us to walk through that is none other than
Dr. Joan Pinkney. Now, Joan Pinkney is a graduate of the Jamaica Theological Seminary and the Caribbean Graduate School of Theology, CGST, where she earned a Bachelor of Arts in General Studies with a minor in Guidance and Counseling honors and a Master of Arts in Counselling Psychology honors, respectively. She also holds a Doctor of Philosophy in Family Studies from Oxford Graduate School, Tennessee, and an Honorary Doctor of Science in Psychology from the Caribbean Graduate School of Theology. Dr. Pinkney is a licensed associate counseling psychologist, a member of the Jamaican Psychological Society and the American Psychological Association. She has facilitated counseling, psychotherapy sessions with clients in corporate entities, tertiary institutions, secondary and primary schools, church groups, and other social groups in several mental health issues. Dr. Pinkney also volunteers in different capacities with several mental health related entities, including Jamaica Psychological Society, Jamaica Theological Seminary, and Family Life Ministries. Dr. Pinkney has been an adjunct lecturer in psychology, business ethics, conflict management, and counseling at several tertiary institutions in Jamaica, and is often consulted by media houses on matters of social concern, primarily in mental health and wellness. In addition, she hosts the program, The Counselor, aired on Love 101 FM Jamaica. Currently, she holds the position of manager, licensing and client services at the Jamaica Copyright Licensing Agency. Joan is a Christian and is very active in her local church. Her time for recreation includes weekend getaways, aerobics, stimulating conversation and movies, and still delights in the close interaction with her 3 adult children and grandchild. In 2012, Dr. Pinkney produced 3 motivational ebooks entitled Wounded, Sexuality Head-On, and Self-Esteem, My Child and Me. Friends, I want to welcome Dr. Pinkney to our program tonight. We're so excited to be here, for her to be here with us. And Mrs. Pinkney, you know that I have known you in capacity as my lecturer in the course Human Sexuality. Let me tell you, I still can recall days of that class. It was so literal, it was so visual, it was so exciting. And you are so straightforward with issues that concern individuals, family, women. It is so interesting that you share that what you shared with us. It was very real to us. I really enjoyed that class. Can I say it was one of my best classes at JTS? I enjoyed it very much, and I loved sharing the topics every evening after the class with my husband.
Oh yeah, I remember those days.
I love sharing it with you. I'm so happy that we could have you as our guest for tonight. We are elated to have you here with us. So good evening, Dr. Pinkney.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. We consider it an honor to have you with us this evening.
Certainly.
Yes.
Just to make one correction, which I guess is my error in relation to my occupational status now. I with the Jam Copy, I retired. And
actually,
I am now with Family Life Ministries as operations manager.
Okay.
Nice.
Cool.
So congratulations on your new journey.
Yes, thank you very much.
Young people like you are not supposed to use that word.
That R word.
Retire.
Well, somebody gave me a little formula recently, and I'm not remembering it now. But I hear you. Great.
Right.
Great to have you, Joy. And congratulations, grandma as well.
Yes, and that is the best thing ever. So I said to someone, and I known it was so great, I would have skipped the children.
My mother shares the same sentiments.
You're all the same.
Yes.
It's second to none. Believe me, it is second to none.
Yeah. It's a real joy. It's a real joy.
So I've heard.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump right into it. So the term Brave New World came into popularity because of it being the title of a book written by Aldous Huxley, a book by the title The Brave New World.
Mhm.
And in it, he focused on the looming dangers of the advancement of technology and the possible threats to life as we know it, and societal cohesion and personal safety, personal personal stability. So
Right.
Huxley coined the term, and it kind of really took off. So it came to kind of represent the transition from the modern times to the postmodern times, the Brave New World and all. Tell us, John, what do you understand that term to mean from your own perspective? And especially as we're going to link it particularly to the focus area this evening, sexuality in the Brave New World. So let's start with that. What's your own perspective on this term, the Brave New World?
Well, just to say that the term is not unique to the writer of this book.
Yeah.
It's actually used by Shakespeare in a
Shakespeare, as far back as Shakespeare.
The Tempest.
Yes. Okay.
Interesting.
So whilst it being populated by him in his book, it was actually used by Shakespeare then. But the concept is rather interesting, and because it speaks to having relationships which are supposedly controlled by one set of persons, but on the other hand, deemed to be free, which is a pursuit of happiness. And so whilst there may be the feeling that, yeah, I'm free to do, but technically speaking, because of the control that the various systems have, without realizing it, that you're really not really free. But the whole business of what reproduction, the whole business of a kind of level playing field of all persons, which the real world really doesn't provide for that. But everybody's, the ground is level. The only place I know that is true at the foot of the cross. But, but you know, and that there's nobody really connected to any one person, and that there is no affinity. So the relationship is as far as a relation happens, but not necessarily with the bond and the connect. And that is, I mean, that's literally dangerous, because you're starting from child, from the state of the child, developmental, and so once you indoctrinate children in that regard, then you really take away the humanness from the human experience.
Right.
And the quest is really for happiness, for everybody to be happy. When in fact, is it really happiness, or is it just a moment that a group of persons just want to manage and give you a sense that this is what is good, but in fact it really isn't as complete as tests. But the concern that I would have is the whole business of your reproductive purpose is curtailed, and it is and the ground being level. If we think of it from a Christian perspective, that whilst you're not going to be up on one gender against the other, but there are certain roles that were given by God. And so those roles in and of themselves provide for some status and some kind of hierarchy. So if you're taking that away, then that is a very great concern.
Right. Because once we got into the postmodern era,
Right.
literally everything was up for grabs, so to speak. Right. Nothing was to be left untouched.
Right.
Boundaries were no more. Everything is in a state of flux. And as you said, the tension between the pursuit of freedom and the myth of total freedom.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
by definition, we are connected to each other, and whatever exercise of freedom that we have or we think we have is naturally to be tempered by the sense of the other. And so once you have a situation now where everyone becomes the one who defines their own sense of what I want and their own sense of what makes me happy, where that comes at the expense of the other, then immediately you realize that you're bound to have problems. And that's the intrinsic weakness of hedonism as a fundamental philosophy inside of the whole postmodern construct. It's fundamentally flawed.
Absolutely.
Because one's freedom is tied to the other, and if we don't have that measure of control, then eventually we're going to have a total state of anarchy.
Right, absolutely. And then because each person, even though there is a sense in which you're being guided as to what to do, but there's a sense in which so everyone belongs to someone else. So you are told that you're free to do, but then the fact that you're being told is taking away. So I don't know if I'm making sense.
Exactly. So somebody is driving the agenda, and the very person driving the agenda is the one telling you that you are totally free.
There's no agenda, right?
Exactly.
And then we are seeing it so much on social media, Dr. Pinkney. It has become very widespread. It has become very upfront and outright and just out there now. And we have been seeing it so frequently on different social media platforms where people are saying only God can judge me. I'm free to be who I want to be. How I feel is how I'm going to act, how I'm going to look, how I'm going to dress, who I'm going to love, what I'm going to love. And we're on the topic tonight about sexuality. And so, Dr. Pinkney, from where you sit and from where you're experienced, what is sexuality? And then also, what are the common misconceptions about sexuality?
All right. So sexuality its meaning has evolved.
Right.
Right. That's putting it mildly.
Yes, it has. I was gonna say it has strayed, but
it has run away, right?
Right. So it spoke about the distinctive of the sex or either genders.
Right.
And it really is a celebration of one's maleness or femaleness, depending on the biological gender that you represent. And of course, things like your gender role and sexual orientation, all of those things play a part in whole business of sexuality. And but more recently, sexuality now is being, well, I didn't want to go into the misconception, but a major misconception is that person think that sexuality is sex.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Let's stress that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I leave that to when I go into the misconception.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Sure.
But there's the understanding that, you know, it doesn't just speak to gender. It speaks to several other things. And is that person is allowed to talk about and understand their own sexuality in their own way and based on how they feel at any one time. It is the feeling now that it is dynamic and it is always changing.
Yeah, fluid.
So today we feel that we may be present this particular there's this particular representation from us in terms of our own sexuality, and then tomorrow or next week when we explore further or we have certain kind of experiences, we may decide that this is not really what we are, or that we have evolved to another kind of experience. And tend to say that we don't want to call ourselves male and female anymore, but we find other creative ways of describing based on what we feel today.
So is that the same thing as gender confusion?
Well, the whole business of gender, I think there is an attempt to description because when you really think about it, there's more discussion about it being neutral rather than being defined as one or the other, one of the two.
One or the other, right.
So you may want to be a male today,
right?
Because you want to assume those kinds of behavior patterns, and then tomorrow you really want to be a female. Right. So you really and so you don't want it to be described as a male or female. You want to just speak to how you're feeling and the kind of regard that you want to be given to you.
Right. And then the language then becomes so complex.
It does.
Because, you know, some people would take offense being referred to by the typical pronouns.
Yes.
You know, and then, you know, part of the whole that has come about as well, the whole postmodern era is the big push towards being politically correct.
Right.
You know, and so it just throws so many things up. But when you think about it, our sexuality is such a fundamental part of who we are.
Absolutely. So just for the record, just in case persons are still unsure, our sexuality begins at birth. Right. And it ends, well, I think it being in terms of the demonstration or the manifestation of it begins at birth and ends at death. Because when a mother is pregnant, how the baby responds in her womb is consistent with any particular gender. Because some girls kick hard, some boys don't kick so hard. So you can't say, oh, because he's kicking hard, he's a male. Right. So
interesting.
And the shape of the tummy and all of those things, right?
Yeah, it's not consistent. It's not consistent at all. So it really begins at birth in terms of your expression of your maleness and femaleness in those kinds of ways. And everyone, and it really, sexuality is really an interplay between type, your gender identity, your gender role, your sexual orientation,
right,
your relationships, your reproduction system, your developmental issues. You know, all those various things and activities form part of who you are in your maleness or femaleness, and they're unique in and of themselves. And whilst there are some general description, but there are some things that are unique to each person.
It's quite a complex.
It is
quite a complex of different aspects and different elements.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think it's important for persons to understand that, because typically we tend to narrow down sexuality to maybe one thing or two things, just a couple of things, not recognizing that there is so much more that our sexuality entails.
Yes.
Mhm. And also
I came across in my research in preparation for this present interaction, I came across some various types of sexual orientation, which I find so interesting.
they are very interesting, and there are many. And
Yes,
I don't know
they're
what some of them
one
mean.
they're 1 to 1,000.
Until it's like the different sexualities, like they have their own. It's like a part of our own organization.
Yes, and
yes, it's a whole
subsets
organization in a yes.
interlocking circles. Yeah.
And if you're not in it, you won't understand. But seeing other people talking about it and having a fulsome conversation, you're like, okay, this really exists because people are explaining what it is.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
So yeah, it's really interesting. And also to Dr. Pinkney, on that note about, whether you're born, your sexuality begins at birth and so on. And I remember a couple months ago, Teddy did a presentation on intersex, and the family. Right. And so I'm here just thinking that, okay, if my sexuality begins from birth, I want to know if you have ever come across, like a client or somebody who's grappling, they were born, for example, with all the physical attributes of a female. They have a well-formed and shaped vagina and they act like a female, but they wake up one day in their adult life wanting to be a male and wanting to be with a woman. What caused that shift? Is it an hormonal imbalance? Is it because all your life you have been acting like a female, dressing like a female, but one day you just want to be with another woman? Have you ever come across that? And what is explained and how is that person helped?
Well, I've had situations where persons have indicated they have always had a desire for the same gender in terms of a relationship, as far as they can recall. And they would downplay it until sometimes they become, when they become adult, then they begin to, it's almost as if it surfaces and it gets more pronounced. Right. And they feel that they can't push it away. Now, there are instances where someone has the tendency toward same gender relationships, or maybe asexual, may not have any desire for anybody at all. And it can be hormonally related, because you do have persons with a surplus, if you will, of certain other sexual hormones, and it can influence you to or try to motivate you toward a particular affinity or a particular attraction. The thing though is that even though you may be born with these tendencies, I call them tendencies, tendencies don't dictate behavior. So someone is born with a predisposition to love chocolate. I mean, can't explain why you love chocolate. You just know that you're now whatever, and you love the taste. There's something about it, and you find that you warm toward wanting chocolate. You yearn after, or you like sugar cane or whatever. The fact is, you can determine whether you eat the sugar cane or you can determine whether you eat the chocolate. But it doesn't change it does not change your predisposition to it. It doesn't change your desire to have it. Right. You may say that if I don't have it, then I'm not being my true self. That's not true, because remember, if you appreciate the whole concept of born in sin and shaped in iniquity, there's a whole lot of comes with that. Talk about disorders. So you're born with that, and so these predispositions that we have, persons will say, boy, I sometimes it's generational, because smoking, drinking, some of these things, even though they're not necessarily transferable, but we're spiritual beings, and tendencies to depend on something else other than family, other than whatever. And so you find that there is a desire to have these various things to help you along. If you look at some family trees that I've been privileged to look at, alcoholism reigns from 3 generations down.
Right.
Mhm.
And it's not
You
because
can say
my
the same for
grandfather
mental health issues as well.
exactly. It's not because
Yeah.
my grandfather gave me alcohol. It's just because my father had that tendency, pardon me, not to be upfront about the issues that he's experiencing. And so he lived that. And so I follow through with it because I don't get the environment was never created for me to share with me. So I find something else, which is the same thing that my grandfather did.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the whole business of being predisposed to certain kinds of behavior is real, and same gender can be one. At the end of the day, it's the decision that you make. Because predisposition or tendencies toward a particular behavior does not dictate behavior. You can determine whether you are going to embrace that or not. So to answer your question, I have had persons who I've had to interact with who have had sometimes it is because of how they were socialized. I've known of persons who their parents socialized them as male or female because they want a different gender child. And so they struggle with being the gender they are because they were socialized into being the opposite gender.
Right.
And it's not necessarily that they desire same gender relationships, but because of how they were socialized, they are thinking that way.
Yep. Just recently, I heard of someone who that is what they reported.
Yeah.
You know, there's the classical debate between nature and nurture, genetics, environment, and for me, I've never been convinced that we can drill it down to its lowest common denominator to one or the other.
Not at all.
I think it's a complex interplay between the two.
Yeah. And one may rise a little bit above the other based on what but generally speaking, both play very dominant roles.
Absolutely.
Socialization.
So on that note, Mrs. Pinkney, what are the common misconceptions about sexuality?
Yeah, some of the others. We are a couple of them already.
Well, that there are more than 2 genders.
Right.
That gender is fluid. That sex and sexuality are one of the same.
Are the same thing. Yeah.
That persons are actually born so. So you have heterosexual, you have homosexual, or whatever else. But the point is that persons generally warm towards the sexual orientation that they're socialized in. And you do find some persons who maybe because of as I talked about the predisposition, but you do have some that veer from the normal. But persons would say that there are born so. So if this is how you're born to be, that's how you're born to be. And that is definitely a misconception.
So does one first sexual encounter has anything to do with that?
Absolutely. There are persons whose first encounter was with the same gender.
Yeah.
And I mean that's environment.
And there's a song that says, the first cut is the deepest.
Is the deepest.
I don't think that person who made that song understood it.
Exactly.
It is so deep. It's so
layered.
It is absolutely.
Those words are so layered.
Even asking that question though, Dr. Pinkney, you wonder because we are out in the world to help people that we come across. And when people share their story of their first encounter and they are who they are today, and it's as if they are stuck somewhere and they want to get out, but because they have experienced nothing else than that, but you see the frustration. I mean, what do we tell and say, to this person? Because if that's their first and they knew nothing else, can you really blame them though?
And interestingly, before you're coming up, that first encounter, can have the same effect whether directly or indirectly, even if that first encounter was not consensual.
Right. That's exactly.
Okay.
So
Go
you,
ahead.
as they would say, you just take the word out of my mouth. Right, because sometimes the first encounter is rape, is
Exactly.
something
Yeah.
which, of course, for the most part, is traumatic.
Right.
And so many persons play that down. Intervention is not applied. No help is given to help the person to deal with it. Very often, if pregnancy is there, they either cover it up or the baby is aborted.
Yeah.
But the scar remains. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, if, for example, there are persons who were raped aggressively.
Yeah.
And somewhere within the experience, they felt some kind of enjoyment.
Which adds to the
Complex.
That whole mix up at the psychological level.
And so the confused.
And so the question is, was I really raped? Was I really raped? Was it really a rape? And what did I do? And so you get
so they start gaslighting.
So you have to help the person to understand the layers that surround that.
Right.
How long does that intervention usually last? How you know?
Very often it is very easy to help the person to forgive the person who raped them. Very easy
themselves.
to even forgive God. But when it comes to forgiving
themselves,
they find it very difficult because in a lot of instances, they either did nothing about it, or when it happened, or they felt some measure of enjoyment. And they cannot shake that. How do I then say this was done to me when in fact I felt pleasure? So you have to go through the whole biological relation and the whole business of the minor versus the major, the person who are adults and all of that. And the fact that it was initiated and all of that, and it's a shift in perspective, shift in understanding. And so you have to really help the person to reframe where their thought process is, to help them get to that. Sometimes it takes 6 months, sometimes it takes a year, sometimes it takes 5 years.
Years.
10 years.
Because I've had the student one time. She told me that she came to me and she said, Mrs. Jones, I want to tell you something. And I said, okay, come and tell me, what is it you want to tell me? And she said, what if I told you that I was raped and the case is in court? And I said, okay, so what is happening? And she told me the history and everything. And she said, you know what now? If I'm having sex, him have to rape me because that's the only way it feels good. She has to, he has to come onto her as if he's raping her, else she doesn't feel any sort of enjoyment because of what she experienced. And so it's when I hear these things, I just want to learn more and know more about, what is happening at the back end, the underlying issues. How can I, begin to help this person or these persons?
And then of course in the brave new world, there's the whole the dominatrix, and then there's the sadomasochist, all part of sexual expression.
Absolutely. One of the things that recent research has shown is that persons wonder, why do I keep going to a particular type of person from a relationship and stay in that relationship? Why is it that I want someone who is aggressive to make love to me when I didn't like to be raped? Why those kinds of negative? What has been found is that the negative experiences that we have, they tend to remain with us longer. Because we ruminate about them. We think about them a lot.
Yep.
And you know that all the memory works. So we go to the short term, we go to the fleeting, then we go to the short term, and then we go to the long term. And anything that is significant enough for us to ponder, enough for us to it just save itself.
Yeah, it's really interesting because there's this big thing in the dance hall now about ladies who love Batman.
There you go.
Right, and quite a bit of the songs are verbalizing that.
Right.
You know, it's quite interesting.
So similarly with women who say, if him don't beat me, he don't love me.
Right.
There you go. There you go.
Because there's a sense in which that aggression says, I'm doing it because of the kind of care that I have for you. It's such a warped perception of what it.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm talking about the fact that the negative is tend to remain, and then they're so consuming because they spend so much time thinking it through, thinking about when something good happens to you, you enjoy the moment and you move on.
Yeah.
When something negative happens to you, you ruminate, you think about it, you go around in circles, and you wonder why, you question, you look at it up and down.
Yeah.
We
keep doubling back to it.
Yeah, we keep going back to it.
You're downloading it, you're saving it several times,
That's
and
true,
it
that's
becomes
true.
more and more indelible. And so it becomes what you know.
Yeah.
And so you find
what I find interesting too is again the whole the environmental connection, that even the smell and songs at the subliminal level. So there might have been a bird chirping nearby when whatever negative was happening, and your brain detected that at the subliminal level.
Okay.
And so you're not actually remembering that you heard that song, but then every time you hear that song, you start going through the emotions.
Conditioning.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, I remember, I can give you an experience of my own self. I mean, this is not a negative experience. I remember my first crush. He used to wear a particular cologne. I think think about that cologne. Oh gosh, Old Spice.
Okay.
You can never forget Old Spice. You can never forget that.
And more recently, I saw it.
Yes.
And I went across it. Of course, they have different fragrances now, and I looked for the original. And when I smelt it, I remembered that person. Vividly. It's just I was whatever age I was, a teenager, all over again. And I remembered it. And my sister said to me, "Why are you smiling with Old Spice?"
And that was a positive. I mean, every one of us have those moments from time to time with a positive or
but
negative.
that was several years ago, and
it's
still stored. That's the point I'm making.
It
is still stored. Still stored.
And you find that generally the younger you are when that imprint is made, whether positive or negative, the more lasting the effect, the more long-term the memory of it, you know. And,
absolutely.
All of that. Again, I mean, we're almost out of time. So we don't have to tell you that you're going to be back. That's a given, right? The time always flies when
you're having fun.
So as we wrap up, and you know, with the central role that our sexuality plays in who we are, and even again, and it may be actually surprising to some persons how much the Bible actually has to say and how much of an interest it has in our sexuality. Now, as we wrap up, given that it is such a big thing, and that it plays such an important role in the extent to which we are able to live wholesome lives, why has the church historically been so hesitant to openly discuss sexuality? And how do we get ourselves as the body of Christ to up to that place where we can adequately respond to, and I mean we've only scratched the surface of sexuality in the brave new world, with all the new things and with all the emerging and all the evolving. Why have we been so historically so hesitant to openly confront those issues? And how do we, is it too late? Has the horse bolted?
Well, the horse is poised, but I don't think but I think it goes, I'm thinking as far back as Old Testament.
Yes.
Where Moses saw that sexual purity was not being maintained. And he had to put on all kinds of laws and so on. You go through Deuteronomy and those other books, and you see all kinds of inconsistencies,
right.
And resulting in divorce and whatever. Of course, women were viewed as possessions.
Yes, yes.
And so what I found is it coming up through the years is that the church, in a broad sense now, a lot of members of the clergy, I mean, they're regular human beings like us. And they themselves have not really dealt with their own sexual orientation. And some of them have struggles in relation to that. And so even those who are supposed to be celibate, them struggle, there's a lot of jokes around that. But anyway, I won't go into the joke. About who was wearing which shoe when they came to mass in the morning. But anyway,
right.
But there has been a lot of struggles, and the Bible speaks of it as well and really try to help. So I think a lot of it has been because many of our clergy have not really come to grips with their own, because they have not really been socialized in that way. So they have not with their own sexuality. And also at one point, it's even in the church, because of the nature of sex in and of itself, it was deemed as dirty at some point.
Yes.
And so you really don't talk about it because it is taboo. We've come big circle now, but these are some of the things why in church, and it was only spoken of when they were reprimanding or correcting or warning, rather than speaking of it in a celebratory way. So I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we're still not there with being comfortable with ourselves.
So we have a lot of work to do. The work is cut out for us.
And this point is a topic in and of itself. It's
topic.
And so as Teddy said, this is not the first and last. We are hoping that we can have you back with us another time so that we can go more into the church's role, especially when it comes to family and sexuality.
Parents, helping parents to navigate this.
And how the church can facilitate this. How they can facilitate this. Where do they send people to? And even themselves when matter of sexuality comes up. So
all right, so you're at Family Life Ministries, learning logistics and operations. We really have to give God thanks for Family Life Ministries. Has really been a bastion of hope in this nation. Hats off to Dr. Barry Davidson and the team, and I know they are certainly all the better for you having joined in that capacity. Give us the number that persons can reach the center at, and then also tell us where we can get your books, the ebooks, particularly, especially that one on sexuality, and how persons can reach you in general.
Right. Well, the ebooks are on Amazon.
Okay. Great.
Yes, they're on Amazon, and if you need to, to have a discourse with me, you can always. Well, let me give you Family Life Ministries numbers first: 876-929-4360.
929-46
4360.
4360. Right.
And
929-4360. Good.
and 920-1034.
920-1034. All right. Great. Great. Mhm. And what was the title of the ebook again? The one on sexuality?
Sexuality head on. No pun.
Head on.
Okay,
Right,
head
right.
on.
Sexuality head on.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
And my personal number is 595-500.
595
5800.
5800. 595-5800. Great. All right. So there you have it, folks. 595-5800. Dr. Pinkney would be more than happy to talk with you to channel you, to guide you into where you can get help. Right. We know that there are a number of persons in our country who needs just someone to talk with, persons who have been carrying around loads and loads of emotional pain and trauma arising from the abuse and misuse of aspects of our sexuality. And we want to help persons to be whole. Right? Family Life Ministries on Cecilia Avenue, right in Halfway Tree. Easy to find, just past St. Andrew's High School for Girls, and right on that road near to St. Andrew's High School for Girls. Absolutely. Family Life Ministries, Cecilia Avenue. Help is available, right? You don't have to suffer in silence. There's no need to continue walking around in shame. Help is there, and we are just so happy to be able to be a part of that process. God gave us our sexuality. It's a gift from God, and he wants us to enjoy it. He wants us to be whole and to enjoy it and to celebrate it, and that it not be a part of our pain. Dr. Pinkney, thank you so much. We will definitely be.
It was an absolute pleasure to have this.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Talk with you.
Hope to see you soon. Take care.
Thanks, Doc.
God bless. Our friends, our guests, time is out. But let's continue the conversation. Follow the page on Instagram at This Is Us Jones Clan, right? THISISJONESCLAN. This is us, Jones Clan. We're gonna be setting up getting the Facebook page up. Some people still do the Facebook thing. We're gonna have the Twitter page up. I'm very active on Twitter, so you can find me there. And email address for the podcast, This Is Us Jones Clan @gmail.com. Send us your comments. Leave a comment on the YouTube. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss the videos, you never miss the updates. And follow us on Instagram.
And send in your questions and your comments, guys.
Sure.
We appreciate.
We want to get those from. Yes. All right. So until next time, keep safe, keep whole, and what else?
This is us.
This is us.
Our journey, your journey, our stories, your stories.
stories.
We're keeping it real and down to earth around here. Bye, guys.
Over and out. Cheers.